mindset. I'm your mindset life coach, Andrew Heffley. And today we're going to be deep diving into this a little bit further. We're going to be talking about touching base on the subconscious and the conscious mind, and really kind of how we can use consciously some habits and how to alter our subconscious. Because in our consciousness or in our daily life, our subconscious plays on what we're going out there and doing from each day to day, right? And there's a lot of things that are happening in our life that maybe there's some things happening in your life that you're really not aware of why they're happening. Like you might be self-sabotaging some areas of your life. You might be doing some things that you'd rather not be doing, like maybe some habits there that you'd like to change. But you're not really too sure where they're coming from, right? Like talking about the self-sabotaging, and it may be on different levels. You know, it could be relationships, it could be promotions at work. You may have your own business, and you seem to be in this pattern or this circle where it's like you keep doing this thing over and over again. When you might have this success, but then you end up like stagnating out. Like you may see yourself going really good for an extended period of time, but then once you hit that point, it's like you always stagnate out, or you go really low and it's hard to build back up, and you keep hitting this wall or this loss almost, and you're not too sure how to get out of that. Like, why does that keep happening to me? It just happens over and over again. No matter what I do, I can build something up really high, but then I'm back down here again, rebuilding again, and you're just kind of lost. Like, what's going on? Well, a lot of that we can find ways. We can dig deep into the subconscious, and we can see things in there and find things in there that's kind of causing that. Anytime I have with my clients that are having issues like this, any of those three areas, which we're going to jump into in a moment, that I help people with, right? We talk about thoughts, beliefs, and action. We always have to, in the first stage of helping them in each one of those three areas, is we need to dig in and look at the subconscious areas of those three key principles of the self, right? And then we can start figuring out where are the problem areas inside of those three topics, and then we can remove them and replace them with good habits or more positive pieces into their subconscious that will then in turn help them consciously in their daily life, right? Now, going into last week, something we had touched base on, it was a new principle I brought up to you, was the SAGE principles, which of course SAGE is going to stand for Sacred Alignment for Growth Evolution, because at a Better Life Mindset, that's what we do. We focus on an alignment, and I call it, a sacred alignment, because this is something, the things I teach on, there's nothing new under the sun. Now, I may have something new to add to it, my personal life and personal walk and personal experiences, right? And I may have my own little touch to it, like my own branding and my own way of wording things, but essentially the core is all the same. I mean, it's the same principles that's been handed down to us through generations, and I call it SAGE because I like esoteric teachings. I like, the hidden stuff, and I do air quotations because nothing is truly hidden from us, as you'll learn in your life. Intuition, God, and Holy Spirit, there's these understanding, these things of knowing that come to us. It's just a matter of we can tune into it. But that'll be a different teaching for another time. So, going into what I call the SAGE principles, Sacred Alignment for Growth Evolution. Last week we introduced you to the symbol of the sage. We broke that down and we explained that the dot is a representation of self, the circle is a representation of our reach of influence, whether it's people we know or don't know, and then the great pillars, the lines on each side, right here, these lines, the great pillars, that is a representation of our core values. Then I showed you here, these are the three key areas of what makes up the self. Again, all connected to the self, the center, the dot is the self. We have thoughts, we have beliefs, and then we have actions. We dug into thoughts, and I explained to you about how our thoughts and even our body has energy that comes off it. These little squiggly lines, they're connecting these three people, and they're not touching, they're touching with the energy, right? So if you're sad, mad, or glad, people can feel that from you, and vice versa. Other people can feel, you can feel what other people how they're feeling as far as their sad, mad, or glad. You get that, you get the energy from them. And that's talking about thoughts. Basically, essentially the same thing. Our thoughts generated energy field around us, and this field influences and interacts with the world, attracting similar energies and responses. I'll dig into that more another time as far as the attracting, right? These, as I say, attracting similar energies and responses, how you can attract how you feel, and the things you think about will feel like you've probably had this experience before. If you have something on your mind a lot, you'll start to see those things. The best way to explain it is to say if you get a new vehicle, Toyota Prius, I'll just throw it out there because, you know, it's good on gas, but it's also kind of a funny vehicle to talk about. You always hear jokes with it. But let's say you bought a Toyota Prius, right? And you're driving down the road. Well, now it seems like you see them all over the place, all the time. You might buy a certain shoe or a certain hoodie. Now it seems like you're seeing everybody with it. Certain haircut. Now you see everybody with it, right? So it's these things that we have our thoughts on, or we may go purchase, and then it's like now we're noticing it all the time. So there is some play psychologically into that. You're tuning in to trying to see those things more, but there is actual techniques where you can draw, kind of using that same concept, but you can draw things to you too. But I'll use that on another teaching. Last week we broke down talking about thoughts. We broke into the introduction of the mind's layers, and the conscious mind, CM, and the subconscious mind, SCM. We explained a little bit about that, touched base on that. Your conscious mind is immediate awareness, decision-making, reasoning, so you're aware of these things. Your subconscious mind is going to be automatic responses, your deeply held beliefs and habits, things you're not really aware of, like auto-driving your vehicle, you're an autopilot. Now today, we're still in thoughts. Remember I said last week when I'm with a client, usually the coaching lasts 6 months because the first 2 months we're discussing the first area of self, and that's thoughts. The second 2 months is the second area, it makes up self, and that's beliefs. And then the last 2 months in the 6 months, we're in action, and that's the third area that makes up self. There's a lot that can be discussed in each one of these. So obviously I'll be discussing these areas more in depth, and it takes a little while. But with these particular teachings, I may move on to the next one. Like say maybe next week or the following week, I may go ahead and go into beliefs, and then may spend 2 or 3 weeks on that, and then move over to action. So I want to be able to get you content, I want to be able to get you information and some teachings out there of each one, and then I'll just maybe circle back to each one again and spend another 2 or 3 weeks in each area: thoughts, beliefs, and action. But today we're back in thoughts, and today I want to talk about consciously changing negative subconscious habits. So these are going to be some strategies for transforming your inner patterns. As you see, I have these circles here, or excuse me, I have these arrows around the circle, and really we want to start from here, but normally how it works is that it's really subconscious interacts and influences your conscious. But you can influence your subconscious with your conscious. So I want you to get this in your mind, that your subconscious will influence your consciousness, but you can take your consciousness, say that 10 times fast, and you can create habits, right? And you can change negative subconscious habits consciously to affect the subconscious, that will in turn empower you, like on autopilot when you drive. When you drive so much, you've created habits that you are muscle memory and driving down the same road every day, to where your subconscious can essentially do that on autopilot for the most part, and you aren't consciously, you're only so much aware of what's going on. But just enough, you can keep the vehicle going where it needs to go on the road, but ultimately subconsciously you're driving that vehicle. Like when you go from point A to point B and then you're there, you're like, well, how did I even get here? I missed most of that, don't remember most of that drive. Well, that was most of your subconscious taking over for you, because you've consciously put those habits in. Does it make sense? Hope you're following. If you're not following, please put that in the comments below, and if you have any questions, I'll touch base on that again later. Alright, so what are subconscious habits? Subconscious habits are automatic behaviors formed through repetition, influence our daily actions and decisions. Why focus on negative habits? Negative habits can hold us back and affect our well-being. Transforming them can lead to a more fulfilling life. Now, I do want to apologize. I kind of had to throw this together. This last week's been a little rough in my personal life. I'm not feeling too well today, so if I kind of mess up my words a little bit, should have said this in the beginning. That's why I'm not feeling all that great. I had to throw this together kind of last minute, just so I can get you some content out there today. My children have all been sick. Unfortunately, like I left today, the doctor's appointments for my 3 youngest. No one's really feeling that good, but we're getting through it, right? We're pushing through it, and we're all going to be okay. We're going to make it through this. All right, so bear with me on this, and I appreciate your patience. All right, so one more time, since I had to break away from that, let's go back. What are subconscious habits? So automatic behaviors formed through repetition, right? Like the driving, you're automatically getting in, you put your seatbelt on a certain way, closing your door, turning the car on, all these certain things that you do a certain way. This is a habit that you form. Leaving the house, the things you do before you leave the house. These influence our daily actions and decisions. Now, why focus on negative habits? Negative habits can hold us back and affect our well-being. Transforming them can lead to a more fulfilling life. Understanding your subconscious, the role of the subconscious mind, stores beliefs, habits, and automatic responses. Influences, get this, 95% of our daily actions. That's the subconscious. Influences 95% of our daily actions. So it's very important to say, hey, basically this is why we spend the first month out of the 6 months, so the first month of each section with my clients while we look at the subconscious side of it. Because of this number right here, 95% of our daily actions are influenced by this. Identify negative subconscious patterns. So common signs include recurring negative thoughts and self-sabotage, as I mentioned earlier. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to change. Here's some techniques for change. This is awareness. Mindfulness and meditation. Practice being present to observe negative thoughts without judgment. Techniques would be breathing exercises, body scan, guided imagery, and journaling, writing down negative patterns and triggers, reflecting on patterns and insights. So let's look at that. Being present to observe negative thoughts without judgment. That's a very powerful sentence. First, it's talking about being present, so being consciously aware of your surroundings, where you are, what you're doing, right? I know that I'm here in this moment. For instance, earlier when I was sitting down, again, not feeling all that great today, and my body is a little bit more easily susceptible to anxiety, and I get migraines when I get them. I get an aura, so I'll have a dot that appears. It's in both eyes. Even though I have a few months ago had one where it's just in one, but it'll be in both eyes, same spot, and it'll last a total of about maybe 30 minutes. But when that dot appears, it'll grow to take up most of my vision, and it'll be a blurred area where if I put my hand here, I won't be able to see it, and then I'll see it again, right? So this area. Well, as a few years ago, I started getting the aura where I could actually see like almost electricity, right? It was dark, almost black, and it was electrical looking, but it goes away, and it's harmful. Nothing comes from it. It's kind of like your mind just resetting a little bit. Well, that causes me anxiety a little bit because I don't like that. It's kind of scary. Let's be real about it. Let's be honest with you. And earlier when I was sitting down working on this, trying to finish this out for us today, I had seen a little dot, and it worried me. So I was, oh man, here we go, because I was already feeling bad. Started getting in my head, and then I had to just stop. I had to not turn the computer off, but just turn the lock screen on. I had to sit back and just breathe and relax. Take a moment and see, okay, is this what's happening? Is this just me that I looked away and now I'm seeing a shadow from a light? Maybe I saw a reflection. Or is it actually the migraine coming on with an aura? So I noticed it was there, but then it started disappearing. Okay, it must have been a reflection, and now let me just keep calming myself down. Focus on my breathing. I am being aware. Practice being present, right? So now I'm present, and I'm observing my negative thoughts, right? I'm saying, okay, I'm worried that this might happen. That's a negative thought because then it can cause me to have anxiety. And then I'm not having judgment on myself, saying, hey, it's okay to feel this way. Don't beat yourself up. You know that even if you have one, you're going to be okay. You know that you're more susceptible to anxiety, but that's okay. Let's just focus on being aware in this moment, seeing what's going on, analyzing that for a moment, and breathing. Focus on your breathing, and just relax so you don't cause yourself to have anxiety, especially if there's no reason to have it. Really, there's no particular reason to have anxiety anyways, in my opinion. But again, in this particular situation, don't beat yourself up about it, and just calm. And that's something that I had done. Now, techniques, right there, breathing, exercising, I just said that. I was breathing, right? I was keeping myself calm. I did a body scan. I took a moment. I said, okay, how am I feeling? I know I'm a little sick. You know, I'm getting whatever my kiddos have, so I don't feel the greatest. Luckily, I haven't thrown up like they have. But I'm okay. I'm well. I'm not dying, right? Knock on wood, God willing. Be an old man, 100-something years old, right? But I'm good. And I'm guiding my imagery. So I'm guiding my thoughts and what I'm looking at as far as where I'm at right now. Instead of taking my mind and allowing my mind and emotions to guide me where it wants to go, like through this anxiety attack, I'm going to guide my mind to a peaceful place, calm place. And that's what I had done in this. And then journaling is another option where you can write down negative patterns and triggers and reflect on those patterns and insights. But that's how, just today, just about 30 minutes ago, sitting over here on this little desk, I did exactly this. Techniques for change, being awareness, where I was present in the moment. I observed the negative thoughts, didn't have judgment. I did breathing exercises. I did a body scan, and I guided my mind to where it needed to go and out of the place that it was trying to go. And that's some ways that you can do that with any of the negative thoughts that you're having. Now, the techniques for change, reprogramming affirmations. Create positive present tense, it's very important, present tense statements to counteract negative beliefs. An example would be, I am confident and capable. I am confident and capable. A visualization would be, imagine yourself succeeding in embodying new positive behaviors. Use all senses. Another very important piece I'm highlighting here with my voice. Use all senses to make the visualization vivid and real. Now, how do you do this? I want to be the greatest mindset coach. I want to be well-renowned. I'll say that, world-renowned. How could I imagine that? That's an affirmation, right? How do I imagine that by using my senses to make this visualization vivid and real for me? Well, for instance, I'm in an office, right? I'm speaking to you, even though this is going to be recorded. And one way I can imagine that right now is I feel this cool breeze coming in from the AC, brand new unit, very nice. It's kind of like when you walk into a high-end hotel or something and you feel that cool room, right? And I can imagine myself getting ready to go on stage. I sit there and I think about it, and I'm behind the curtain. I feel the cool breeze of that high-end stage or arena. I hear the crowd murmuring and some cheering and some laughters. I hear pictures snapping over there on the outside of that curtain. I can feel the velvet curtain. I feel it. And I can see it in front of me as it's closed. I mess with my headpiece, my microphone, check it, make sure it's clipped on the back of my belt. And I'm excited and I'm ready. And I know I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have this joy. And I'm going to feel everyone's energy of positivity to me. And I know that I'm going to give all that positive energy back. And I'm going to provide value to them. So what did I just do in that moment? I created a positive present tense, I imagined myself succeeding in embodying new positive behaviors by saying, okay, here it is. These are things that I'm going to have. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to help people. And I'm using all my senses to make this visualization vivid and real. I could feel the velvet curtain, right? I can feel the cool air. I can hear the excitement out there. I'm hearing things. A smell. How about a smell? How about I smell some donuts in the back where the staff is, and some fresh coffee. You know, when they have a moment, they can stop and take a break, eat a little bit, snack a little bit. I smell that coffee, and I smell the sugar in the donuts. So I'm putting myself in that moment. So when you look at this and you create, using that example, I am confident and capable, and you want to imagine yourself succeeding in embodying new positive behaviors, you can look at, like, for instance, as an example, you could say, I want to be more peaceful. Okay, well, what does peaceful look like to you? What is something that you're doing now that would make you want to say you want to be more peaceful? What's the rockiness? Okay, now you have peaceful. What's that look like compared to this? Okay, well, this is stressed out. I'm anxious. I'm upset. I'm stressed. Well, I know how that feels. I know how that looks. I know how that is. So I am confident and capable and peaceful. How does that look? How does that feel? That is me relaxed. For me, being peaceful is feeling the sun's rays, smelling fresh cut grass, maybe near a pond. I like being next to a pond when I'm in the most peaceful area is usually next to a pond. The wind and the breeze, the wind against my skin, the sun on my skin, the frogs chirping, the birds singing. It's peaceful. That's peaceful. I'm confident. I'm capable. I'm peaceful. So that's how you can use your senses to make that visualization vivid and real. All right, kind of limited on my time, so I'm going to continue. If you have anytime you have any questions on anything that I present, put it in the comments, please. I'll be happy to touch base with you. Still on techniques for change, but behavioral change, habit stacking. Pair a new positive habit with an existing routine. So here's an example. Practice gratitude after your morning coffee. Practice gratitude after your morning coffee, if you're a coffee drinker. If you just drink water, that's fine. Whatever you do in the morning, after that initial thing or during that initial thing, think of gratitude and practice gratitude. Things that basically what it means is to be grateful for something. Find something to be grateful for. It can be the fact you woke up. It can be the fact that you have running water to take your shower, brush your teeth, use the restroom. That you have fresh coffee, right? That smells good. The ability to smell is something to be thankful for. The ability to see, to hear, or whatever you got going on. The ability to get up and help yourself. To be able to do these things for yourself, you can be grateful for. It's very easy to be grateful. We do not have to make this grandiose, right? It can be very small. Because I promise you, if something happens in our life, we lose a digit, right? Thumb, pinky, lose an extremity. Those simple things, you'd be very grateful for. Being able to have done that, right, when it was easier. And you would still be grateful that you're learning ways to be able to do it without those items, right? So it doesn't have to be grandiose things. This big home, this big truck, that big beautiful office, 100 employees. It can be as simple as, I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for that worker there that talks to me and keeps my day happy. I'm grateful for my recliner at home. Even though it's 10, 15 years old, I'm grateful for it because it fits me perfectly. I'm grateful for my dog, my children, my wife, my husband, my partner, whatever it is. As small to big as you want. Small steps and consistency. Break down goals into manageable tasks and celebrate small victories to build momentum. This is a very important thing. So first off, break down goals into manageable tasks. Easy enough said. I need to get this goal done. Let me look at all the steps. Let me figure out ways to break this down and break it down into little steps to get the goal done. Now I have these little tasks. And then my next thing is celebrating small victories to build momentum. Exactly how I'm doing. Task 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then once 6 is done, boom, I've accomplished my goal. When I accomplish the first one, celebrate yourself. It doesn't have to be huge, but it doesn't have to be too small either. Celebrate yourself, even if it's just patting yourself on the back like, yes, I did it, I got it, okay, on to the next one. Let's move to the next one. That builds that momentum to want to keep going forward until you've gotten all 6 done and now you've reached your goal. Techniques for change, support system, seek feedback, engage with a mentor, coach, or trusted friend for guidance. Very important. Share progress and challenges. Having a coach like myself, the reason people hire me, and they have me come in, The number one thing, I think I touched base on this last week in last week's video, the number one thing I can do, I can give you every book I've ever authored and published. I can give all that to you. I can give you every piece of content I've ever written, everything that I could ever have for you. The 6 months, or even my coming up 90-day, where we're doing changing up that 6 months, that little beta test I'm doing where I'm looking for 5 to 10 people. If you're interested in that, let me know. But no matter what, I can give you all that stuff that we would go over, every step that we would follow. I could give it to you, and you might even do exceptionally well at following it and having the changes you need. But more times than not, you need someone there to hold you accountable, to be your accountability partner. Me as a coach, that's the number one thing I can do for you. Again, I give you all that stuff, but if no one's holding you accountable, be honest with yourself. How well would you stick with it day to day, week per week, month per month for those 6 months? You might, again, be the exception, but not the rule, right? You might be that exception, but not the rule. More times than not, someone has to be there. It's why it's very important to have support systems and seek feedback. So as a coach, the number one thing that people really pay me for, this is one thing I like to say and let people know, even the people hiring me, is that the number one thing you're paying me for is for the accountability. It's to make sure you're showing up, because I'm showing up for you. Even like today, even though I was late on getting this out, I still showed up. Right? I had to take care of my family first. I had to take care of myself too. But I still showed up. And that's what I'm doing for you. I'm showing up for you, and I'm helping you make sure you show up for yourself. So that's why it's important to do this. Even a trusted friend can help you with this for guidance. Now, choose correctly. Share progress and challenges. Again, that's just helping them help you work through that progress and work through those challenges. Community and accountability. Well, what are you doing right now? Join groups or communities focused on personal growth. That's what we're doing here at A Better Life Mindset. Whether you join us on YouTube, whether you join us on School, SKOOL, if you're not familiar with that. Our community, right, here on YouTube or here on School, wherever you might be watching this, that's what we're here for. When you join this, as you have, then this is helping you focus on that personal growth, because that's what we do here, right? Sacred alignment for personal growth. All right. Any questions on that? Again, any questions anytime. Comments, please. Evaluating progress. Regular self-assessment. Hope you don't mind. I apologize. Got to take a sip of water here. Evaluating progress. Regular self-assessment. Track changes in behavior and mindset over time. Adjust, right, your techniques as needed based on effectiveness. So in sales, when I used to sell furniture, one of the things I had to learn was adapt quickly. And I implemented that strategy by any time that I would have a conversation with somebody. I knew I had a general layout and a thing I would follow. But then I would learn from however I was conscious of this, right? Purposeful with this. If I said something, I would always be listening. How are they responding? How are they responding verbally? How are they responding physically, right? So your physical communication, body language. And I would adapt my next interaction based off my previous one, and so on and so on and so forth, until I became very good at selling. Even with me talking, there's a certain way that I carry myself, certain way I speak with my hands. I'm very interactive. I love to use my hands to communicate. It's just how I've always been. But I've changed my approach of how I use the way I use my hands. I don't go too loud, because this does something to you consciously and subconsciously, makes you feel like something's crazy and erratic. There's a box that I try to keep my hands within, because it keeps it calm, cool, and collected, right? Keeps you calm, cool, and collected. And even the way I form things for you. See what that did? When you form something and you hand it over, you imagine that form that I've shaped it in. Maybe I'm shaping it and handing it. I'm getting off subject. But anyways, I adjusted my techniques as needed based on the effectiveness until I got to a point where I was realizing I was closing very high. Right? I became not the highest salesperson as far as dollar amount, but over the entire board of all the add-ons, I sold the most, and I was the highest on percentages across the board. But I took that, I tracked my behavior and other people's behavior and my mindset over time, and I adjusted those techniques as needed based on effectiveness. And that's something you can do as well. Things that you're putting into practice. Again, this stuff takes time. Remember, aside from my 90-day beta testing where I'm taking 5 to 10, I'm leaning towards 10. If you're interested in that, please message me. Instead of it being 6 months, I'm doing that 90-day. Even with that, or in the 6 months, it still takes time, right? That's 3 months, that's 6 months, it still takes time. So don't judge yourself. Remember, it's a judgment-free zone for yourself, especially as this community. And allow yourself some time to see those techniques and to see that effectiveness and those things go into work so you can adjust it and adapt, right? I had to wait until I was done with one client and then wait for my next, what was called up, to come through the door, my next client to come through the door. I had to wait for that. And then I had to go through the whole, what I call the dance. Selling is a dance to me. I call it a dance. I've referred it to that since 2016, I think. So we're coming up to 10 years. I'm sure other people may call it the same thing. I've never heard anyone else call it that. So that's kind of my own little thing I coined for myself. Because they come in, we're dancing through this process. But I'm leading them. I'm guiding them. Dancing is very emotional, right? It can be spiritual at times. There's a connectedness that has to happen for you to flow. So you have to do all these things in a dance to go the right way and to end and to get to the end result, to hit your goal. And it's an experience, a learning experience. We learn how to dance, right? And I don't really know how to dance. I mean, I might do one of these little funny things with my kiddos where we just throw our arms back and we're just goofy. Well, I guess dancing is an art form, right? So we'll just leave that to interpretation. But selling is a dance. So likewise, I want you to think of this like you're on a dance with yourself. And it takes time to get your steps right. But ultimately, you're going to get there. And you're going to get into that flow. And you're going to get to where you need to go. Is that right? Huh, look at that. So, be kind to yourself, my friends. Celebrate successes. Recognize and reward yourself for progress made. It's not any easier than that. Recognize and reward yourself for the progress of which you've made. Every day is a new opportunity. Every step is a new win. It takes one step, one day at a time, to get to where you're going. Reflect on how positive changes are impacting your life. That's very important. Going back to that meditating, taking that moment. If you're outside and home, whatever. In our previous video, we talked about meditation. Just close your eyes, relax. Take 20 minutes, 10 minutes if you have to. I always tell people, push towards that 20 minutes if you can. Have something that's just a nice sound. There's a nice app called Hue. I think it's just HU. You can download that. It's supposed to be the God sound. I've listened to that for many years, especially when I first separated my ex-wife and I moved down to Little Rock. It was a very anxiety-filled experience, we'll just say that. Being away from my children for the first time ever in my life for more than like a day for training or something. It was very challenging, but I found that app and I used to listen to it every night. I listened to it last night, actually. Yep, sure enough. But I use that. And now I use visualization techniques to imagine where I want to be. Like being a world-renowned mindset coach. Being on a stage, like I said earlier. Just being peaceful and calm. Looking at the things that I've accomplished so far and working through difficult times as well. And challenges that are in my life right now. I work through that. And that meditation helps me. So reflect on positive changes and how they're impacting your life. Use that as a way to do that. And that's a good time to recognize and reward yourself as well. So the conclusion, your summary: awareness, reprogramming, behavioral change, and support are key. Got it? Consistency and self-compassion are essential for long-term success. In 2013, I was my heaviest I've ever weighed. The heaviest I saw myself on a scale was 230 pounds. Now, I got a little muscle. Gotta have some fun with it. But at that time, there was less muscle and a whole lot more fat. Not knocking anybody. If you got a little extra, chunk as I call it, that's okay. But if you're not comfortable, be real with yourself and make the changes you need to. When I talk about consistency and self-compassion are essential for long-term success, it brings back the memory of 2013. I didn't study hypnosis. I wasn't really studying any of that stuff, but I did study neuro-linguistic programming, which is kind of close to that. Some may argue it's the same thing. But one thing, and I hadn't read this yet, but one thing I just knew by intuition alone, I'd say it was granted to me by the Holy Spirit, through Christ and God. Andrew, you got to be kind to yourself. You may not like yourself right now, but it's not that you don't like who you are as a person. It's you don't like how you look. But you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself first, because that love is what's going to get you to where you want to go. Hating yourself, and some may argue with me on this, but I will never be able to agree with it. If you cannot hate, let me rephrase this. You could hate yourself into losing the weight. But where does the hate go once you've lost the weight? Does it just disappear? Think about that. What is there left to hate? If you hated yourself through the entire process, all of a sudden you're just going to love yourself automatically? You've created, remember, losing weight takes time. Excuse me. Let's even say 30 days. Let's just say 30 days. It took me longer than that. It took me 4 months to get where I wanted to be at. To be comfortable, which was the key. Comfortable. In that 30 days or 4 months, you're creating habits every day. I don't think hating yourself is going to change overnight like that when you finally look in the mirror and say, okay, there I am, that's where I wanted to be. And will you really be where you want to be if you're hating on yourself? Think about it. For me, I knew by intuition, granted to me by God through Christ, I have to love myself through this. Because this isn't going to be something I change for a short time. This has to be something I change for a lifestyle, for a lifetime. You hear me? You following me on that? Love is what's going to get me from point A to point B, and then continue the rest of my life following these guidelines. And if I mess up, I can use that love and use what I've learned and go back into it. Folks, I'm about to lose time on this. I'm running out of time with my space on my phone. So I would recommend using that consistency and self-compassion, essential for long-term success. Go through it with purpose, but purposeful love as well. Next step, start with one technique and gradually incorporate others. Stay committed and patient with your progress. When it says gradually incorporate with others, stay in the group. Even if you don't go to our school community, which is completely free right now, so check that out. Then on YouTube, if that's where you're watching this, put it in the comments. Let's have a community built up in here. I'm not one to say, hey, like and subscribe. If you liked it, great. If you didn't, put it in the comments and explain why. What can I work on for you? If you subscribe, fantastic. If you didn't, that's cool too. Tell me why not. School, for all my members in the school community, thank you again for being a part of this group. Put in the comments, what did you get from this? What are you planning to do with this information? What's some areas that what are some areas that came to your mind strongly? You said, hey, this stuff, I need to use what I learned, what Andrew taught me today, and I need to put it towards this item or these things. What are those things? Let's keep each other accountable. Let's be there for one another. Let me be there for you, because likewise, when you're there doing this, you're being there for me. You're helping motivate me continue to do these videos for free, to put this information out there, because I know it's helping someone, even just one. So I love y'all. I got much respect for you. I thank you so much for being a part of this, for watching this video, hopefully from learning from this, and most importantly applying. Again, I appreciate your patience with my words, messing a few things up here and there. I'm not feeling all that great, but guess what? We're going to get through it, right? Amen. Questions and discussions. Again, any questions, that's what I'm here for. That's what the community's here for too. Take advantage of it. Much love, much respect. This is Andrew Heffley of the Better Life Mindset. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. God bless you. Here's to your success. Here's to a better life mindset. Thank you.